We have breaking news tonight. The governor of Puerto Rico says the official death toll from Hurricane Maria has been increased to 34. 34 from 16, more than double. Governor Ricardo Rossello also says he believes the hurricane caused $90 billion in damage across the island. President Trump visited Puerto Rico today, nearly 2 weeks after the island was devastated by Hurricane Maria. Here's what the president said before he left the White House.
I think it's now acknowledged what a great job we've done, and people are looking at that. And in Texas and in Florida, we get an A+. And I'll tell you what, I think we've done just as good in Puerto Rico, and it's actually a much tougher situation.
During his 4-hour visit to the island, President Trump toured a neighborhood outside of San Juan and visited a relief center where he met storm victims and helped distribute items such as rolls of paper towels, if you can call that distributing paper towels. He also met with federal and local officials. Here is what he said during that meeting.
I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives. If you look at the, every death is a horror, but if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died, and you look at what happened here with really a storm that was just totally overpowering. Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
In the last hour on the Rachel Maddow Show, the mayor of San Juan had this reaction to President Trump's visit today.
He was insulting to the people of Puerto Rico. He kind of minimized our suffering here by saying that Katrina was a real disaster, sort of implying that this was not a real disaster because not many people have died here. Well, you know what? They're dying.
NBC's Tammy Leitner was in San Juan before the storm hit and has been reporting from the ground every day since. She joins us now. And Tammy, the president had a fairly limited itinerary there in San Juan today and around San Juan. What are some of the things you think it would have been more helpful for the president to see if he had more time?
Lawrence, I can tell you that President Trump did not get an accurate portrayal of what is going on. For the last 2 weeks, we've traveled basically across the island, and we've visited towns that have been completely cut off, where the roads are washed away, where people still have no food, no power, no water, and they're having to drive 90 minutes, 2 hours to come into San Juan to go to a grocery store because their grocery stores still are not open. And once they do get here, the shelves are very limited. There are no frozen items in the grocery store, very little refrigerated items. This means no milk, no ice, and what canned goods they do have, they're being rationed out. I can tell you there are still lines for gas, and people are desperate for cash. Right now, this island is operating as a cash-only island, and we've seen long lines at Western Union, people telling us that they don't know what to do. They have no more cash on them. They're trying to get family members who live elsewhere to send them cash. So what President Trump saw today was not an accurate portrayal of what is actually going on here in Puerto Rico and the desperation and the day-to-day struggle that people are still going through. Lawrence?
And Tammy, the death toll has, the official count has more than doubled today, going up to 34. That's obviously not necessarily related to any new deaths, but more a catching up with what has actually been happening there. There must be a lot of other areas where the official statistical reporting lags behind the reality.
Absolutely, and they are expecting that death toll, unfortunately, to climb even higher as the days continue. Lawrence, I can tell you, we've been to some towns, Utuado, for example. It's about 90 minutes outside of San Juan, and the main bridge was washed away there. People are using a rope to cross the river there, to walk across and to send food across to some of the people that can't cross over. So rescuers are still getting to some of these more remote parts of the island. And so it's still unclear if there are people out there that need medical help that want to be rescued. And that will come in the coming days and weeks. Unfortunately, that's why they're saying that they expect the death toll to increase. Lawrence?
Tammy Leitner, thank you for your invaluable reporting from Puerto Rico from before this storm even hit the island. Thank you very much, Tammy. We're joined now by Melissa Mark Viverito, the New York City Council Speaker. She was born and raised in Puerto Rico. Her mother and other family members still live there. She returned from Puerto Rico last week after a 3-day visit. Tell us what you saw in Puerto Rico and your assessment of what you saw of the president's trip today.
I mean, the president's visit was an utter disgrace. And unfortunately, the governor of Puerto Rico, Rosselló, and the resident commissioner, Jennifer Gonzalez, are becoming apologists for this administration's lack of seriousness to this crisis. The bending over backwards, the selfies, the smiling photos. You know, this president needs to be called out for his lack of seriousness to this humanitarian crisis. And this visit today was an utter disgrace and an insult to the Puerto Rican people to be throwing and lobbing paper towels at us as if we were animals. You know, it's really making light of a situation that is very severe and which he continues to paint with a brush as if trying to paint a different reality, that this is not really what everybody's talking about. This is really all going very well. That is not true. What your reporter on the ground indicated is very true. You know, I've had to find ways to get money to my mother. It is a cash-only society. People in the hospitals are not getting the proper attention. 95% of the island still has no electricity. The lack of consistency in getting supplies and food and water all to the outside areas of San Juan is real. This is not getting better. It's only getting worse if there's no serious attention. I continue to say that we probably have no more than 15,000 personnel on the ground in Puerto Rico when we had 40,000 in Florida after Irma, when we had 30,000 in Texas. We are being treated in a different way, and there's a double standard when it comes to the people of Puerto Rico and when it comes to the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that is unacceptable. So I'm going to continue to raise my voice, and the only voice of indignation and the only voice of resistance to what is happening is coming from the mayor of San Juan, and that is the reality. And so I really am here to condemn that we still have not seen an appropriate response to Puerto Rico, even when the general on the ground is indicating that he does not have the sufficient resources or personnel to handle it. So we need to continue to pay attention. I want to thank all the media that is giving this attention. We need to get the proper response, and we still do not have an appropriate response on the ground in Puerto Rico.
If you had had a chance to consult with the White House about this trip, what would you have told them about what the president should see as opposed to what he actually did see today?
No, he needed to go out into the mountainous areas. He needed to go into the towns of Utuado, as your reporter indicated, or Orocovis, where I was last week, which is in the heart of the island and which was almost impenetrable to get to. That is what he needs to see. People that are not getting any sort of assistance, that have not seen FEMA response, that are hungry, that are not getting water, that, again, the hospitals continue to run on generators. That is not a reality that can continue moving forward. And so as we discuss this, you know, it continues to defy reason when the president is talking about the debt, or the president is talking about the fact that this is costing us so much money. This has to be set aside. We have a humanitarian crisis, and it needs to be paid attention to right now.
Melissa Mark Viverito, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.